Okay. Hey everyone. Look at this makeup. Isn't this intense? I mean, I think everything is going pretty well. Okay, so I want to talk about labels because I watched a couple of videos about, I think, a very, very, very feminine gay man who, when he was young, was, I guess, referred to a psychiatrist, and they denied that they are trans, which is very good feedback because people start thinking that just because you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist, that means they were just going to prescribe you, boom, you're trans no matter what. But there are cases where this doesn't happen, right? And this is a good example. What I want to talk about in relation to this is the label, because this person thought that like the label doesn't really fit him very well. And I understand this because as a trans woman at this point, I kind of got to this label, trans woman, by accident, because I was non-binary for 2 years, and I told myself we can be whatever we want, and if we were going to be very feminine, we're going to be allowing ourselves to be very feminine without any judgments, without any prejudice. Let's just be, and if we end up being masculine, it's also okay. So I gave myself kind of the green light. Go do whatever it is that comes to mind. Eventually, in the course of 2 years, I found myself with only women's clothes, having massive dysphoria of my body, and wanting things that I realized led me to the label, because I knew people who are trans, were still trans, and I think the sister of one of my close friends, well, maybe not close anymore, but a friend of mine is trans, and I thought about her when I was thinking like, okay, wow, can I talk to this person? So I talked to my friend and I told her, can I have your sister's number? I want to talk to her about transition. I want to see if this is what I'm going through, because I think my friend was also seeing me transition socially into like wearing lots of makeup, trying to grow my hair and all the clothes and all the stuff. And when I talked to her sister first, and I showed her my pictures, and I'm like, I keep drawing hips. I keep being at like wanting certain types of bodies. I have dysphoria in relation to certain types of bodies. Things that were there before kind of reappeared strongly, because I told myself we're not going to be doing this for relationships anymore. We're not going to be being the guy for a relationship, which is what I did. So I think it was kind of not healthy, maybe good, but not healthy in the sense that I had women who I dated who kept reinforming or reaffirming these certain masculine things that they liked about me, right? So I never really had a woman I dated, or yeah, mostly women I dated. I never had a woman I dated that actually affirmed anything feminine in me. It was more like, I like it when you have facial hair. I like it when you grow whatever. I like it when you wear these types of shirts. I like when your body gets a little sweaty, rough, hairy. And then I'm like, the things that I don't like about my body, I start accepting because I have someone reaffirming these, like, oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Right. And same thing with the genital part. Because I heard very, very good feedback from that. I did not like this part to begin with for a very, 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 very long time. And I think having people tell you they like it kind of makes you forget about yourself, because eventually this is not for me, it's for them. This is what I was thinking. And that got me in trouble because eventually, yeah, in bed, I wanted other things, right? Like I wanted to be touched differently. I wanted to be the bottom, the submissive person. And in stereotypical hetero cis relationships, this is not going to happen. Not very often. And even if it does, I think it could be a role play scenario, which is not really what I want, because I'll be role playing being the dominant male every freaking time, and I'll be just tired of it, honestly. So eventually, I got to see this feminine gay person talk about the label, how they did not identify with the label trans. And that's actually very cute. And I definitely support this. And I like that there are people who just go out there and say, the label trans is not for me. And I'm very happy as a gay man. And I will have long hair, and I will wear earrings. I will wear makeup. I will wear a dress, and I'll be gay. man, right? So it's a bit different than, let's say, what I have with my own dysphoria. I don't care if the clothes are made for men or women, as long as they make me look good. Usually men t-shirts are not what I want because they make my body very rectangular or square, and I don't like it. And I also have some types of women t-shirts, girls, whatever, that I do not wear because they do certain type of things for my body and it just doesn't work. And it just kind of makes things a lot worse. So eventually we just avoid those. I'm into like flared dresses because that gives me a curve at the bottom, which makes me kind of chill and enjoy myself. Very wide leg jeans I'm wearing today. So let me show you. This is the fit today, right? So I have this, and my white shoes, and I was wearing a white backpack, right? So I was just going with these. A bit alternative, very kind of modern. And I like it because I have snatched waist with this, because these are very, very wide leg pants. And I like those. They're my favorite pants now. But this got me to think also of the label trans woman. Now, when I started my transition, I was thinking of being a trans means wanting certain things, and people all agree to what you're wanting from your transition. And I came to the realization that this is actually not very true. Not at all. Mostly every trans woman I met has a different idea of their own transition, her transition, their transition. And I was a bit disappointed because I'm like, finally I found my people who were born male and now they're feminine and they're expressing it. But not everyone, because I met trans people who were like a they, them, or they, she. So they had a very, let's say, prominent masculine energy. And then I had also trans women who are very, very feminine, but maybe younger. And there's just kind of different stages of life. Same thing with cis women, you'll find with trans women. Nothing crazy. But eventually, nowadays, I dissociate myself from the trans woman community because of the people I met. They were not bad people, but every time I go talk to them or be around them, everything becomes about transitioning in relation to surgeries. You can have, or you should have, or you should get the bottom surgery, the top surgery, or the facial feminization surgery. And then some people get very intense and they go like collarbone reduction surgery, chest bone reduction surgery. And then you have like hip implants. And then you can also have, what else? And the bottom surgery, of course, the bottom surgery. But you could literally do your voice. You can shave your Adam's apple, which I'm kind of lucky because I don't really have a prominent Adam's apple. I don't know. The destiny, I guess, wants me to be here. I think so. So eventually I'm disconnecting from the label trans, and it doesn't really bother me that much when people say you're male, because that's very true. It does affect me a bit negatively if people just keep saying you're a man, because that's funny. When I was a boy, I was called you're a girl, and like there's no pleasing people, right? So eventually, I think if someone comes and tells me you're a man or uses like masculine adjectives, I think they want to activate me. They want to get on my nerves. And usually I just ignore these people and I'm like, yeah. And if they're trying to talk to me, I really just kind of not talk to them and ignore them completely, because they're trying to get a reaction. And if they do not really begin the conversation maturely, this conversation is not going anywhere, honey. I'm not allowing you to get into this. I represent myself feminine, so I do prefer feminine pronouns, whether that is she, her, girl, you go girl, right? So I do not like how some men or even women would identify that you're trans and treat you in a masculine form. Like, if you notice what I'm using with my words, I'm not saying treat you as a man, like treat you in a masculine way, like how dudes will come and like do this hand chest shake thingy, and I'm just like, no, like I'm not your bro. We're not gonna do this. Like, You think you know me? Like, who are you? But the same thing happens with some girls who pretty much will look at me and assume completely that I'm so flamboyant, queen, yes, get it, right? So I'm like, I also do not swing that way. I don't know what to tell you. Life. But eventually, I got out of the stereotypical ideas of trans women and men from the past, and now I find myself very good and a very good place in relation to the labels, because I think I want it to be like a woman when I started my transition, and I'm realizing I'm trans. I'm okay. Like, I'm okay if people call me trans or a trans woman. That's okay with me. But eventually, I think it's irrelevant. Call me by my name. I'm Freya. Hi, nice to meet you. That's all. That's all I care about. Um, and then I usually also, like people who I work with, I correct sometimes, which is actually very interesting because I have a student from the Middle East, from Qatar, and this person probably hasn't interacted with many trans women. And at the beginning, it was kind of scary for me, like, oh, another one of those. But then I'm like, all right, let's see, right? But he's a very chill person, and we talked about the transgender thing, and then I told him about the transsexual person, like myself, and then how those are different. And then also we talked about like masculine gay men, feminine gay men, masculine women, a lesbian woman, and feminine lesbian women, and in betweens, right? So, and I told him the same thing. So at the beginning, he was like talking to me like a guy, and expecting like I'll be interacting with the same jokes or liking the same things, using also masculine pronouns. And I told him one time, I explained to him like I'm a trans woman, which means I live my life as a woman, which means you cannot be using these pronouns. I prefer you using a feminine pronoun so you can treat me as you treat your sister, a woman, right? You talk to me the same way. So I think he also mentioned in one of these sessions I have, because when I mentioned the transition for the first time, his idea was like a she-male, because in Qatar they don't call them trans women, they call them she-males, and those are just males because there's no HRT, there's no hormone therapy. People just go get surgeries and they have the genitals, and eventually a lot of them get with this massive chest, like breasts, and massive hips. And he was asking me like, show me your body, and I'm like, you cannot ask people this, like, what is wrong with you? And eventually I tried to explain to him, like, would you like it if a guy on the street goes into your sister and tells her, show me your butt, show me your breasts? And he started thinking about it. He's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're not thinking the right way. And I explained to him again, like, I'm a trans woman. You don't ask women to show you their breasts or their ass or whatever. And I think I am being patient with this person because he's from a very strict area. So I don't think it's his fault exactly. So I want to be a good influence for his next interaction with a trans woman. So hopefully that would be someone who went to college. Like, a trans woman is not someone who just has big breasts and big hips and likes sex and is a prostitute in some sense, right? So I showed him, like, look at me, like, I'm studying, I'm doing a PhD, I like to play music, I compose my own music, I like to dance, I'm not a very sexual person, and you cannot, and I don't wear like very loose, tight, I don't wear very tight clothes that show my curves and whatever, my breasts, and I'm not obsessing with very, very big curves and all of this and that maybe he's used to. But eventually, I need to be patient if that is the case, so that he can be a good influence in his own country, and maybe one day he would interact with someone and be a good guy. So this is my way of seeing myself changing life or changing people around me. I do not like going to people and tell them, hey, you need to do this because this is facts, right? I don't think that's healthy. Whenever you go tell people what to do, they're not going to do it. I'm a rebel. I'm very rebellious. If you come tell me you have to do this, I'll be like, watch me. I'm not going to do that. Not today, not tomorrow, right? So eventually I just avoid all that completely. But my way of changing people is to explain to them or to be a good example. So I'll be living life, and let's say I would not take drugs. I would not party too hard. I would invest in studying. I would do homework on my own without anyone asking me. I would play music and learn how to learn about different types of genres, right? So instead of having anyone push me to do it, and then they look at me and they're like, wow, you could do this by yourself without anyone helping you. I'm like, yeah, you could do that. So I want to be like a good image for people to look at and copy, instead of I want to be a teacher, or like, come here, sit and learn from me because I'm right. Because I think I was there when I was a bit younger. Like, I thought I just knew things and I would just tell people, this is it, these are the facts. And now I'm realizing I could be wrong, but at least I'm doing me. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but I definitely had people change their perception about trans women, for example, because I work online with older people, with successful people, with jobs and PhD degrees and so on. So many of these people had a very different idea of trans women because of what they see on TV, or because of what they see on Instagram. Sometimes if you look up trans women, it's just like sex workers, online OF scenario. And it's not wrong, but you don't get to see other types that people could look up to, right? So I want the label to change to include, just like the gay guy included long hair, makeup, pretty much looking like a woman, but he accepts that I'm a gay man and I'm a man. And being gay doesn't mean I have to have short hair and I have to have big muscles and that. So he's changing the idea, the label itself, to be a bit more inclusive. And I want to also have that to be part of the trans woman community, is that you do not have to be very pretty to be a trans woman, because I have a couple of trans women I met and here, and whenever I talk to them, this type of surgeries that keep coming up, some of them actually would literally show you a surgeon cutting people on video, and they're like, oh wow, amazing, right? And they're like so excited, so happy about it. I'm like, this is making me like want to vomit, because you're cutting up a person and you're seeing all this blood come out, and you're like fantasizing about this as in like, oh, I'm gonna wait, I can't wait to do this, right? For me, it's just like something maybe I have to do with the bottom surgery, but I'm not gonna get any other surgery. I don't want to get any other surgery unless I have to, I guess. So the breast surgery thing I might get if the HRT doesn't really get me something. It's growing, but I have very high prolactin levels, which I read is stopping my breast from growing, because high prolactin levels would stop your estrogen from going into your breast area. And then that could be very dangerous. So I have been doing this badly because I was taking Androcor, which is the anti-androgen, and I was taking 50 milligrams. And I was supposed to take 25 milligrams, which is half a pill. And I read that I should be taking even a quarter of a pill, which is 12.7 milligrams. And because I'm doing injections, which are a lot stronger and more clean and more pure, I don't even need Androcor. So I'm going to be trying this for a while. I'm going to be taking a quarter a pill instead of a full pill. And I want to see if my prolactin levels drop, and then if my breast growth goes back again. This also affects my body feminization, not much on the face, because prolactin doesn't really affect the face that much. But I'm also changing my diet because I was eating lots of sugar. And sugar also, creates insulin resistance. And then with that, your estrogen does not really get to stay or get broken down. Eventually, it's just wasted. So because I wanted to gain weight as fast as possible, and what I did is just harm myself and hurt my transition. So I need to be patient, and I'm going to take the label trans woman very differently. And I don't care if people call me trans woman, real woman, whatever. Like, this is your problem. The pronouns are your use. I'm just walking down the road. If I tell you I like to be called this way, I think it's mature for you to call me this way. If I tell you my name is Freya, you should not call me Jack. If I tell you I do not like tomatoes, you do not put tomatoes in my burger. If I told you I do not like you to call me dude or dumbass, like, you should not call me dude or dumbass, regardless of my gender. Just a respectful conversation. If you tell me, um, I like to play video games, do not stop me, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll wait. If you tell me I do not like to be called um, daddy or something, I'm like, okay, fine, we'll find a different name, we'll talk about it. Like, I do not have to agree whether or not this is a good argument. I just have to listen to you and see why are you upset, or if you're upset, or what is bothering you, and what can I do about it. And the same thing. So if I meet someone and tell them I use she, her pronouns, I'm a trans person, my name is Freya, and they just go say, you're a man, you blah, blah, blah. And like eventually, like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to like nod and just leave and not try to be around you anymore because there's no other conversation after this, you know? So do not get attached to the label. This is what I want to get to in this video because I don't think I chose to be trans or like found trans people. I'm like, aha, that's me. I'm just very happy being my feminine self. And in society, the label is trans woman. If this changes one day, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Like, I'm not ashamed of my biology. I'll never say I'm a female. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a female cis woman who passes completely. I'm okay. Like, I'm trans. If I walk, you could probably tell I'm trans, and that's not a big deal. I look pretty. Some people tell me that. So, regardless or not, whether or not I'm trans, people recognize beauty and tell me. Simple. So, I hope this helps. I hope you reflect on this and try to get some cool fits going. Gonna head out. I'll see y'all later. Bye.